for this conversation. And I'm delighted to see Ambassador Carsten Stauer also joining us with his outstanding experience and insight on this issue. Colleagues, you have also seen there are two colleagues sitting from DESA. So we are not here to speak with different voices, but we're here to give you different perspectives on this issue. So my job is to really zoom out of the effectiveness conversation, which is critical, and present to you the bigger issues that we think people like you should focus on. And since OECD, DAC, IATI, GP, EDC, UN, we're all together, this is also a moment to trigger that thinking. So with that, I seek your indulgence to let me speak at a very meta level. And Sherry will, of course, cover all the other ends for me. Thank you, Sherry. Thanks to IATI, Nigeria, and all partners for bringing us together. As you all know, we meet at a moment when development cooperation is under real strain. Money is tighter, sovereign debt is heavier, shocks and crises seem to be becoming the new norm. And expectations and needs are higher than ever. Just look at the SDG financing gap, not to mention the climate change challenges. So let's be direct. There is a stress test for the system. If cooperation cannot deliver now, under pressure, under constraint, then its relevance will be questioned. The Sevilla commitment gives us a clear sense of direction. But the real issue is how that direction can work in today's conditions. And conditions are changing radically every month. Let me highlight 3 shifts that we cannot ignore. First, the math no longer adds up. In 2025, aid fell by 24%. At the same time, developing countries paid $1.4 trillion in debt service. That is money not going to schools, hospitals, food security, or climate protection. There was hope that private finance would help fill the gap. But less than 2% reach the poorest countries, and almost none goes to basic services. In short, needs are rising, but reliable funding is not. Second, the system is getting harder to navigate. More actors, more funds, and initiatives, but with less resources and even lesser clarity. According to the DCF survey, conducted across 75 countries, only about 2/3 receive timely information from partners. Even fewer know what funding is coming next year. That makes planning difficult. And national coordination spaces are weakening, just when countries need them the most. So what do we see on the ground? Overlaps in some places, gaps in others, and a lot of guesswork in between. Fragmentation is not neutral. Coordination burdens, competing conditions, misaligned time horizons. These get absorbed by the governments least equipped to manage them. With all that is changing right now, are those costs rising faster, and are they showing up in new ways? Third, policy incoherence is getting more costly. And we have been talking about policy coherence since the monetary consensus days, but now the cost of incoherence is becoming very high. Debt, trade, climate, and security. These have always shaped the development landscape. But today, the pieces don't always line up. And sometimes that is not an accident. One policy supports growth, another pulls resources away. The evidence on where incoherence hurts most and for whom is exactly what the system needs to be honest about. Dear friends and colleagues, these are not small problems. They point to something deeper. The system was built for a simpler world. Fewer actors, clearer roles, more predictable flows. That is no longer the reality. Everyone is moving, but not necessarily in the same direction. And we witness on a daily basis practice has moved faster than policy. What countries are actually doing has outpaced the global norms, policies, and measurement frameworks meant to guide it. And that we are witnessing at a very rapid pace in the last 12 months, how practice is changing in the areas of health, in food security. So the question we need to ask is not just, it's relevant, but not just that question, how to improve effectiveness. Question is important, but not just one question. It is more basic. That question is, do these ways of working still hold together under pressure, under stress, under strain? Or are we layering new demands onto an old structure that cannot carry them? This is where the development cooperation that the UN convenes matters, not as another meeting, but as a place to bring the full picture into view. The Development Cooperation Forum brings together partners GPEDC, OECD, DAC, TOSD, and IATI. We all need to put our heads together. We are in it together, and we have to find solutions together. A place where diverse actors with different roles and experiences can look at the same evidence together and be honest about it, what it shows, and how do we deal with it. And let me end. The system does not lack ideas. It lacks shared clarity, shared vision. Sevilla gave us that, but we need to implement it. So let me leave you with this. We are not operating in stable conditions anymore. Complexity is not temporary. It is the new norm. The question is whether development cooperation can adapt to that reality, not in theory, but in how it actually works. Because if the system cannot hold together under strain, it will not deliver where it matters most. The Sevilla commitment points us in the right direction. But what matters now is whether we can make the system work as a system again, clearer, more connected, and focused on real outcomes. I don't have answers to these questions. I hope panelists will have them. But I wanted to flag those for you, and let's work together to find the way forward which works for everyone. Thank you again. I deeply regret I have to leave for another meeting. So I'm not running away from the conversation. I'll be listening in and learning from Sherry and, of course, Ambassador Stowe. Thank you.